All right. It's indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Tackle. It is the 7th of June, the State of the Nation edition of the 7th of June 2022. Tarehe 7 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 2022. Natumai kwamba uko salama na uko tayari kuweza kujumuika na sisi kwenye mazungumzo ya leo. The 7th edition, the 7th show of June 2022. It's always a pleasure to have you. And I request that when you join in, please, as usual, like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. It's the State of the Nation. Na tuko na Professor Herman Manyora. Last year alitupiga chenga kidogo. Akasema alikuwa anaogopa homa. Inaitwa aje, ingine mpya ilikuwa imekuja version mpya ya corona virus. Akaingia asi kidogo, lakini basi yako na sisi leo. Na pia na tuko na Gloria Orwaba, is a youth policy analyst. Na pia na ile mambo ya kisiasa. Alijaribu pia kuna pale Bobasi. Lemba kuna Bobasi, sijui kuliendaje pale, atatuambia what happened in Bobasi. I don't know. Lakini kama kweli ukiingia tafadhali like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch podcast. This is General Talk. Na kama kawaida tunaingia mbele za Mungu kuomba, alafu tukirudi basi nakuja kuwapa salamu zenu tukianza kazi. Ni vipi? Haya. Mighty Father, I come before you this morning. We worship you, God, for your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this program. We thank you for the conversation that you're about to have. As we have it, may it edify the fabric of this country for you people, trusting and believing. Amen. Haya, the thing that happened yesterday as well, as the Mio has launched its manifesto. Very beautiful. Most of the dailies are calling it Baba's Canaan. Iwaona taifa leo wameita paradiso ya Canaan. Daily Nation wameita Raila Odinga's Canaan. We're going to look at that as well and analyze the things that have been promised in there. Are they possible? Is it viable? And also as we contrast on the state of the nation, we try to demystify state of the nation against the promises that are being made by the politicians. And we have Professor Herman Manyora will make perspective of that. And also Gloria Orwaba ambaye yuko pale njiani. Anasema iko dakika 2 atakuwa hapa na sisi. Naona Daniel Skipkoech anasema watching live Eldoret Kiplomba. Asante sana Nito Kiplomba. Good morning senior. Good morning. Willie, good morning. Kokoi Plomeri, good morning GB Tundi, asante sana. Daniel Skipkoech anasema no, so tipo. Chairman Diaspora anasema Joel Arama anasema good morning. Good morning to you my brother. Chairman Diaspora edition. Good morning to you my brother. Daniel anasema niko sawa sauti sasa. Bet Gideon, good morning. Team Taklas, good morning to you. Kutometa, good morning GB. Good morning Agri, good morning Kiongozi from County 027. Willie Ruto, good morning my brother. Good morning Tom Wesley. Hello my boss. Good morning. Victor, good morning. Abdi Fatah Mukhtar Abdi, good morning to you. Shuja Javan Kucha watching from 001. Asante sana to Mombasa. Karis, try to tell Gloria to be very objective in her submission. She doesn't seem to see anything good from Azimio's side. That to me is just being ignorant or petty and cheap. Let her be objective and that's nothing to do with wherever she supports or not. Okay. This is Chamalo. Good morning to you, Mheshimiwa. Good morning, Governor. Good morning to you. Unaitanaga Governor online lakini kura amopeanange bana. Wakenya wasikuchoche. Haya, Geoffrey Kisumu iko sawa. Asante sana kwa Kisumu. Marion Eva, good morning City Kabana siku ndani. Asante Kibrengesha Coach Andrew asaba following man. Good morning to you my brother. Jane Mumbi, good morning. Gidi Man Kilel, good morning. Joshon Owigo, good morning to you sir. Komani Samson Yo, good morning. Moses Waweru Irungu, good morning. Gerald Bito, good morning. Amos Kibroto Langat, good morning. Gerald logged in from South Sea, Nairobi, sorry. Tokeno, good morning to Kiongozi. Good morning, Robert Bate. Good morning from Kinango, Kwale. Good morning. Ahmed Kibet, live from Philippines. Chamge Arabito. Good morning to you. Osoro Mabuka, Salimia Professor. Na upoke salamu. Tell him to be objective as well. Aya. Nimeona watu wanasema objective. Alright. David Thomas, good morning to you. Mbaye Mwiruri Charles. Good morning to you from Ruiru. Tell Manyora to try to be neutral today. Aya. Karis. Good morning Bitok, you are my favorite watching from UON. Asante sana watu wangu University of Nairobi. Roger Saida, good morning 029. Caleb mwenyewe anasema good morning to you sir. Hope you doing well. Tafadhali kama umeingia na hujashare broadcast tujue iko shida hapo kidogo. Please when you join in like, when you like we get to know that you're watching us. And after like please share. When you share you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. It's a State of the Nation edition of the 7th of June 2022. Na tutaingia magazeti shortly. Nikimalizana na hii salamu yenu tutaingia gazeti direct. Karieko France, good morning from Naivasha. Asante Karis. Yeah, great for me Professor and Gloria. Umesalimika Bet Gideon anasema good morning. Hashtag the Taklas getting the show live. Professor.
Morning to you.
Uko salama. Finally, we can see you.
I'm here.
You've been missing in action.
You know, I'm around.
Umeenda wapi?
Great place.
Karibia mic kidogo.
Yes. I can see you got a great place here.
Haya, kamera yako ndio ile pale.
Kamera yangu ni gani ile?
Nataka kubwa maduong. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning to you.
It's a pleasure to have you, finally.
Thank you.
We've been looking forward to hosting you here.
I'm now here, and thank you for the invite, and this is a great place.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciate the comment, the positive comment it said. You've shaped conversations in this country for a very long time. And you are one of the voices that even getting to learn politics myself, I used to listen to a lot of content from you and watch a lot of content from you. And you've been able to share opinion, whether positively or negatively, depending on where people are.
Yes.
But somehow we can say you've always shaped conversations around the political space in Kenya. How would you describe yourself? Because most people, I can see in the comment section here, people asking, Manyora, inakuaje? Manyora, mambo yake vipi? How do you describe Professor Herman Manyora?
Manyora is a simple Kenyan, very, very simple. And that's all. I love this country. I talk about this country. I want to be part of the conversation you need to take this country where it should go. And that's all. Otherwise, I'm just a Kenyan from Vihiga. I do some little teaching at the University of Nairobi.
Okay.
I do a lot of politics in media. That's all. That's me now. Mkenya wa kawaida tu.
Una upande wa kisiasa? Kama unasema Herman Manyora akona upande wa kisiasa. Vipi una upande wa kisiasa ambao unaweza kuegemea? Do you lean anyway?
I basically am really non-partisan. Many people don't know it. But you see, like a cartoonist, if you ask a cartoonist, they will tell you there are certain faces that are very easy to draw. So in every election, there are people who attract attention. And people talk about Ruto. Let me tell you, if media wasn't talking about Ruto in the last 3-4 years, they wouldn't have been selling their wares. Papers have been selling because of talking about Ruto. Yeah, so I'm just part of that. I mean, he's a person people have been discussing. Yeah, that's true.
So auna any side, you don't deal.
No, I have nothing against Ruto. In fact, I keep telling people, and I hope they listen to me. If Ruto became president, he would give me a job, a good job. I'm telling you, a good job before he gives Gloria. By the time
Gloria,
he will get to me before Gloria, and before a lot of these people. I'm telling you, because he knows I'm a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning to you, Gloria.
Morning.
Masaa bana zimekupiga chenga vipi?
Pole, nimechelewa. I slept a little bit too long.
You saw a little bit late or a little bit
Unajua
too late?
mahustlers tunafanya kazi mpaka usiku kabisa mpaka 3 AM. Sasa tunang'ang'ana tena kuamka asubuhi.
Yes, kama itabidi tumechunguza. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It's been a while. Been what?
Imekuwa salama.
What have you been up to?
Salamu kutoka watu wa Bobasi constituency.
Masalimia.
I think last time I sat here I was still in the race.
You are a candidate.
I was a candidate na tulingangana tukapigana na wale wanaume huko Kisii. Unajua tuna wanawake wengi huko Kisii. And I came in second in the party primaries.
Okay.
A strong second with 5,587 votes. The winner having 7,000. So I think as a debut in politics hapo wacha nijipigie makofi.
Mbele iko sawa.
Mbele iko sawa.
Mbele iko sawa. Sasa maondo na kaora. Mambo ni pole pole. Angalia pale mbele. Haya twende kwa magazeti. Si kama gazeti iko tayari. Nataka siweze kuangalia gazeti inasema vipi leo. Video lote hapa watu wa Kilifi wanasema hapo asante sana Brian Maingi tuning from 017 Daniel Metwing. Nimeona Desmond M22. Good morning Castle tuned in wa Munyo. Tim Muta, good morning. We have just tuned in cut up before I go to class. I'm tired with these political lies. Okay. Ndugu yangu Tim Muta, usijali mambo ndio hivyo sasa. Jackson yuko sawa cheko ndani atoka Asante. Babu Owino anasema Osman good morning. Wewe ni mtu wa nguvu. Gotea my lecturer Professor Manyora na mrembo wetu Gloria. Waambie ni baba kwa sababu kama kuna tabu ana jawabu la ajabu. Ala, okay, umekuwa sasa poetist. That is Babu Owino. Asante sana Wiseman. Good morning to you Wiseman. Na ilikuwaje ulikuwa kuja this week? You told me you're coming in this week. So, let's see. Maybe niambie kama uko tayari kesho. Kama unaweza patikana kesho Wednesday kwenye siasa Wednesday, tukutane tuweze kung'ang'ana pamoja kwenye ulingo wa kisiasa. Matthew anasema Manyora is not a political analyst. He has skewed views. Hata tuambie tutaona. You guys don't judge walisema nini? Don't judge the cover by its book. The book by its cover. Did they say don't judge the cover by its book?
By its book. Yeah, the book by its cover, color cover.
Asante Professor. Okay. Babu anasema good morning kiongozi. Bangatini good morning. Emmanuel Sawe. Great my schoolmate. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Emmanuel Sawe. Great my schoolmate. Great Gloria and Professor. Asante. Singeliwa Professor Herman Manyora kuona. Steve Simpole. Huyu anasema Kikuyu Mitimba business is for the dead. Ndiye alisema kazi ya usumo ya big fish takataka. I such graduates requires jobs. Zero touch with common mwananchi and reality check. We in the informal sector should teach Azimio la wadosi a lifetime lesson. Yeah, they'll tackle unemployment. Okay. Haya tuangalie magazeti. Kama iko tayari, tunaanza na The Standard na Daily Nation. Tuangalie. Okay. Haya, tuanze na Taifa Leo na Daily Nation. Taifa Leo inasema paradiso ya Raila Odinga. Paradiso ya Raila Odinga. Kwa paradiso la Raila Odinga. Na kuna zile promise ambazo zimeweza kufanywa na Raila Odinga in his manifesto. Inasema uamuzi 22 Raila azindua manifesto ambayo anasema itaongoza usimamizi wa serikali yake. Haidi kufuata baadhi ya sera za Jubilee kama vile ukopaji madeni kupindukia, serikali kuu kukwamilia majukumu ambayo yanapaswa kugatuliwa na kaunti, ongezeko la ushuru bila kujali hali ya maisha ya Wakenya. Iko kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Pale pia anasema mwaniaji wa rais wa Azimio ahidi kufanya maisha ya Wakenya kuwa ya kuheshimika akishinda. Je, atatimiza? Haya pale anasema taxes vijana hawatalipa ushuru kwa kufanya biashara. Baadhi tu ya ahadi ambazo zimeweza kutolewa na Raila Odinga. Ya kwanza ni wifi kuwekwa kote nchini. Inaitwa Baba Connect. Kwa hivyo mahali ambapo utakuwa kila mahali unakuwa na internet, unakuwa na wifi, high speed. Inaitwa Baba Connect. Baba is connecting you. Na pia ni kuondoa VAT ya mafuta. Inasemekana kwamba ataweza kutoa ushuru ambayo imeweza kutuka kwenye mafuta. Na pia wanasema Wakenya wote kupata hati miliki ya ardhi. All Kenyans will get title deeds. Kenyans will get title deeds in Baba's government. The fourth one is vijana watalipa ushuru wa kufanyia biashara. As a young person, you'll not be able to pay taxes. Yes, as a young person, I'm happy. I'll not be able to pay taxes. If that is true. 5, akina mama wasio na waume kufadhiliwa. If you are a single mother, you'll be sponsored by the government of Baba. Baba will be sponsored all the single mothers. Number 6, hakuna Mkenya atalala njaa. Semekana kwamba Baba saying that there's no Kenyan who will go hungry. Kila familia kupata maji will be a full connection of water in Baba's government. Haya, ballot edition nasema Raila's Canaan, road to State House, clear to run. David Mwaura Waiga, George Wajakoya, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. These are the names alongside those of their running mates that will feature on the presidential ballot in the August 9 general elections. The lowest number of candidates since the advent of multi-party democracy in 1992. The Electoral Commission knocked out more than 50 aspirants from the hotly contested race. That's on page 12 of the Daily Nation. Raila's Canaan decision 2022, my dream, as a mere presidential candidate Raila Odinga last evening launched his manifesto promising a development state that puts manufacturing at the heart of growing the economy, while emphasizing social capital, integrity, in strengthening of developed functions and protection of media freedom. That is on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. All right, that's some of the things that have been promised by Raila Odinga. Is one, employment of all trade but jobless teachers, walimu wataweza kupata kazi, free education from ECD to university, tertiary colleges. If you're going to school from nursery mpaka university, itakuwa free of charge, bure bwerere. One meal for all the ECD lower primary pupils, utaweza kupata chakula ya bure. Cost of living reduced the cost of unga, farm input, sugar in 100 days, the first 100 days of Baba's government. Increased capacity for transmission and distribution, reduced the grid losses from 23% to 10%. That is what matters electricity. Shillings 1 billion revolving fund for cheap loans for borders. Watu wa border maambia kwamba mtaweza kupewa bilioni nzima, 1 billion revolving fund for your loan. Social protection, Kenya shilling 6,000 to 2 million vulnerable families. Health insurance for all termed Baba Care. Baba Care inaweza kupea insurance kwa kila familia, kwa kila mtu. Retiring civil servants to retain medical cover and government cost a monthly upkeep for single mothers. A devolution allocate 35% of national revenue to counties, transfer all devolved functions that are still pending in the industries on a one country, one product basis. Kila county itaweza kuwa na factory yake. Public debt of all Kenya's public debt management reduce pace of accumulating debt. Pursue debt relief, youth, 7-year tax holiday, waiving of licensing of fees for youth-owned businesses. Kasim Tani to continue, Kenyan Diaspora Investment Bank to be set up. Sonko wins reprieve over Mombasa race. Judges withdraw orders that restrained Electoral Commission from allowing former Nairobi governor to contest in Mombasa. But Mr. Sonko is not yet out of the woods. Okay. Tax business, foreign firms pocket youth tax relief. Court says taxman cannot demand their pound of flesh from promotional and marketing jobs done on behalf of parent companies as they are deemed export services. I think we start with those two newspapers first. Any comments that you would wish to make? I'll start with you, Professor.
Hello.
Gazeti umeziona gazeti mbili pale, Daily Nation and
well, you have just seen Raila's manifesto launch and the things therein. Some of them I can follow, some I don't remember, some I've heard, some have not. I've not had time to go through it.
Okay.
Yes.
Hujaona manifesto ya baba?
Bado.
Okay.
Lakini nimesikia naweza kushikashika kwa mbali.
Naweza shikashika kwa mbali.
Hata ukiwa hiyo mkutano huwezi shika kila kitu.
All right, so let me give you some of the snippets on what he has promised. Yes. On education, he has promised employment for all trained but jobless teachers. Walimu wote wameweza kwenda shule and they have not gotten jobs, they'll be able to get employment. Free education from ECD to university or tertiary colleges. 1 meal for all ECD lower primary pupils. On the cost of living, reduce cost of unga, farm inputs, and sugar in 100 days. 2, increase capacity for transmission and distribution, reduce the grid losses from 23% to 10%. That's the on electricity. 1 billion revolving fund for cheap loans for border. On social protection, 6,000 monthly to 2 million vulnerable families. Health insurance for all. Everybody loves insurance by Baba, termed as Baba Care. All right, retiring civil servants to retain medical cover at government cost. So if you return,
it's a good idea.
Okay. Monthly upkeep for single mothers. All the single mothers will have monthly upkeep. Devolution allocated 5% of national revenue to counties. 2, transfer all devolved functions that are still pending. Industries, there'll be one factory per county, one product basis. Public debt of all Kenya's public debt management, reduce phase of accumulating debt, pursue debt relief. On youth, ama vijana, 7-year tax holiday, waiving of licensing fees for youth on businesses. Kasim Tani to continue. Kenyan Diaspora Investment Bank to be set up.
Good ideas. If they were implemented, then Kenya would be a good place to live in. Certainly, it will be a wonderful place. We'll be on our path to Canaan.
So do you think
we'll have started the journey to Canaan?
Do you think it's viable?
Pardon? Viable?
Do you think it's viable?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? It's just a will. It's nothing you need more than the will.
Okay.
If somebody is in State House, all they need is a will. I mean, those things, none of them are utopian. All of those things are achievable. In fact, if it was me in State House, it will be more than that. 6,000 will be 20, 30,000. Yeah. And I'll even give it to more people than Raila wants to give.
So any critic of the manifesto? Do you think there are things that are not?
The only thing I would say is the question implementing. If you talk of free education, Raila himself stressed the word free to indicate, if I know some little English, that he's aware this is not free education. By the way, if you were to cost education and make people pay for it, it will be cheaper than it is today. Yeah. So it's not a question of whether those things are achievable or not. The devil is in the implementation. When Kibaki came up with a free primary education, the idea was good, but it was implemented in a bad way, so it never became free. So even the 6,000, you can say you are giving, but the money doesn't reach people. You see what I'm saying? Or it goes to the wrong people. But the ideas are good. I would support the ideas.
You associate with them?
Yeah, I would support them.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Gloria, what are your comments?
Well, I was actually looking forward to seeing this manifesto because one thing is certain, since we have gone into this election year and even from 2018, actually from the handshake, it has been clear that this part of the political divide has never been about the economy. These are guys who have been pushing for, constitutional reforms. These are guys who have been trying to make spaces for themselves. When we had the BBI, there was that expansion of the executive. So I was actually looking forward to seeing what their manifesto would look like, because even as they started campaign, they didn't really have a messaging for their campaign. So BBI was supposed to provide footing for their messaging. And that time they were saying uniting Kenyans, and when it flopped and it was declared unconstitutional and Kenyans actually rejected it, they had to go back to the drawing board. And then we saw them coming back with the very confused messaging. At one point, they even almost joined, or actually they did join the Hustler Nation movement by talking about buy Kenya, build Kenya, and things like that. There was some confusion. So I actually was looking forward to seeing this because, can I be honest? I'm not surprised. I have had the privilege to actually just peruse through the document, and I watched the very beautiful launch, which probably costed taxpayers a lot of money because we know who's sponsoring this campaign. And I will tell you, eventually, Azimio played catch up, because when they tried to sell that peace narrative, let's unite Kenyans were like, wacheni kutusumbua na hizi vitu zenu za kutu-unite, sisi tunataka pesa mfukoni. And truth be told, when I say they played catch up, we have been saying kazi ni kazi, pesa mfukoni, since we introduced the Hustler Nation movement, since we introduced Kenya Kwanza. And yesterday there was even a tagline from Azimio talking about pesa mfukoni. So as I'm saying, they are playing catch up. And when you're playing catch up, you know what happens? It's like you're in class. Unatafuta Kenya rakaraka, and you're just like, let's, on top of the 6,000, what do we do? Let's put this, let's put that. So you can tell that the ideas are very, I would say the person who put that thing together ni kama alipewa 24 hours. So the back-end engineering of it, like actually Professor said, I'm waiting to see how they are going to implement it. A simple thing like that 6,000 social protection fund for each vulnerable family. The first question we asked is, how do you decide who is a vulnerable family and who is not a vulnerable family? The second thing you ask yourself is 6,000 per household, or they're talking about per household, and they're talking about targeting 2 million households. So if wale watu wa mathematics mtaona, that is around 144 billion per month. So 144 billion per month, I would like to see from the Exchequer and our ministry how they will account for that and where that money is going to come from, especially when they intend on closing down an industry like the Mtumba industry, which actually brings in per container 1.5 million on taxes. So I'd like to see how and where they are going to get 144 billion to give vulnerable families. Yet in the same spirit, they are saying not every hustle counts. Yani kuna kazi zingine zenye si za maana. Unajua mtu akikwambia, like today I'm wearing mtumba, my top is mtumba. You might call it mtumba, but for us who have gone to school and we have been out there, we have gotten the exposure from international community. This is actually an industry called thrift shops, where because of the uniqueness of an item, and probably when they manufactured, so I'm slaying. When they manufactured this thing, it is not like from China when they bring 3,000 copies of the same. So because maybe I want to just be the only one with this thing, then I go to a thrift shop. Yeah, even for the elites, mtumba is called thrift shop. Sasa we have people saying ati tunavaa nguo za watu wamekufa sincerely. You can't shut down a whole industry that is bringing in taxes to the billion. As I said, per container, one container actually pays tax of 1.5 million minimum. And per year, we are actually importing 8,000 containers. Okay. So ukifanya hiyo calculation, that is tax income, Yani serikali inachukua kitu kama 15 plus billion kutoka hapo. Sasa if these people are bright, they should even be understanding how that is a source of revenue for them to now go and finance their 6,000 per household. So anyway, for me, the manifesto didn't shock me. When you had utterances of someone in Azimio, anyone in Azimio talking about bringing down fertilizer prices, who has been running around this country talking about fertilizer, talking about when he was the Minister of Agriculture, fertilizer was at 2,500, and he just doesn't understand why now it is at 6,000. So to hear it being uttered yesterday by Baba, it is like, of course, typical. You people couldn't even sit down and just analyze what you intend to do for this country. So what you did, mukakopi, mukachukua, fertilizer, nini. And then when they ran out of ideas to copy, or when they could not find anything else to copy, they decided that they are going to end malaria. I looked at the health promises that they were giving. It's absurd. It is actually an insult to our doctors in this country. It's an insult to our practitioners. It's even as if they could not sit down, professor wakona madaktari wengi huko wanasema wakona maengineer madaktari, unajua sisi ni hustlers, sisi tuko na skills huko wakona madaktari and they couldn't sit down a doctor who's practicing in this country to actually tell them the pain points that the health sector requires. They came up with some skewed policies. If you read what they want to eradicate malaria, that is what they're promising. It has come down to that. So Bitok, we are happy for anyone who has a manifesto. To be honest, I'm actually happy that they have a manifesto, because it's better than TB Mantialala. At least this time wametuambia watafunga mtumba. At least this time wametuambia they don't recognize all hustlers. At least this time wametuambia that above and beyond all the policies and things that they should implement on the nurses and the doctors, they will eradicate malaria. At least one of the other things wametuambia, which was very, very interesting, was that they are going to implement they're going to recognize prior learning. And I was laughing because I've been on this show when I was talking about Kenya National Qualification Authority, an agency that was gazetted, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, that has already been implemented, which has a director. By the way, that director should feel he should feel very insulted, because he's been in office for 4 years, and basically Azimio is telling him, where hujafanya kazi. They are already, this current government, led by the way Akasirike, wamemkosea by the way Akasirike. This government led, and in the first term, by William Ruto, who is a champion of the technical and vocational educational training institutions, TVET, actually pushed for the Kenya National Qualification Authority, which is an agency that basically states, and their sole mandate is to implement prior learning and recognize it. And they've already started doing it. There are people who even have degrees from Kenya National Qualification Authority. Watu ambao wamekuwa na skill set, wamekuwa wakifanya farming lakini hajaenda shule, wameenda wakakalishwa chini, wakafanya some basic theory, and the authority actually recognized huyu ni mtu ambaye amekuwa in that sector, and they have been certified. So those promises that we are being told, some of them, when you really interrogate them and research, it's hot air.
According to you, they are not viable. Okay.
No, some are viable, but they are already implemented. Some are stolen from the Kenya Kwanza, and some are just hogwash.
Okay. Professor, the thing is, it is the state of the nation. And
yes.
We try to make sense of the state of the nation. As it is right now, every Kenyan is feeling the pinch in the pockets in terms of the state of the economy, the state of every state. When it comes to education, you are a lecturer in a public university. There's been an outcry from public universities on funding and its weight survival. Boy University was being closed up the other day because they're saying they don't have funds to run. We're talking about the high cost of living, talk about fuel, talk about food, talk about all these things. Are we talking about a government that has been criticized for overborrowing? I mean, the state of the nation as it is in every sector has people crying out in every sector. Now, with this very beautiful that we look at, first of all, you work in the education industry. What would it cost to fund an education system from ECD to university?
What will it
cost?
I don't have the figures, but
it's a costly affair, right?
But I know it's possible. You see, talking about manifesto, Gloria is talking about manifesto. This is our country. And if you are to do something about Kenya, we will say about the same things. Because unless you are talking about Iceland, if you are talking about Kenya, you can't escape talking about education, health. So there's nothing like copying. Anybody, Yakoya will talk about the same. When Jigiri had been clear, everybody will talk about, because this is the same country with the same problems, with the same issues. That's not where even the problem is.
So is it achievable? When you look at it, it's
So they shouldn't have an unveiling, because if we already unveiled Big Four agenda, then why are we unveiling Big Four agenda again?
Gloria, hold on.
You know what happens?
Unveiling ndio pale kuna shida
What happens is, you can stir people's emotions. You can throw slogans. You can appeal to the voters directly. But they're also intelligent voters, and they're also our partners who want to see a program, a well-refined program. So the manifesto is a preserve of the other category of people. But then you go in the streets there, you talk to voters. So that you must then draw that distinction between. So you need to convince that serious voter, the serious Kenyan, the international partners, that when we take over government, we have a program. That's what a manifesto is. But then you come back again and talk to the people to give you votes. To answer your question, all these things are possible. And a lot much more than that. What do you need are two things. First is to stop theft of public money. So anybody telling me they can do anything without telling me that they will stop theft of public money is a waste of time. There are two things: stop theft of public money, stop wastage. Then you have some money to move forward with. Secondly, get people on board, men and women, who can help you realize these things. And just to inform Gloria, I think also there are people on the other side of Raila who have tried. I don't think the issues Gloria is raising, for example, about 6,000 shillings. They have thought about them. They are possible. They have looked at what happens across the world. They have done the calculations. They have looked at the budget. And by the way, it's not 120 billion. It is 12 billion. 2 million times
6,000
6 times
per household.
It comes with
times
12
2
billion.
million households.
12 billion.
Times, okay, anyway,
It's 12
carry on.
billion per month, which is about 140 billion per year. Compare against
144 billion.
Yeah, compare against 700, 800 stolen every year. You already have a lot of money. For education, I'm not even bothered about making it free. It should have been free long time ago. The question is, what are the details of the program? You get it? But the money is possible. In fact, it is embarrassing and shameful that we in this country can still be asking poor parents to pay fees. They shouldn't be paying it. No, just take your child to school. That's what Raila is saying. And I think it's necessary. It is actually immoral, criminal, to go to a woman in Kikomba, in Kibra, who has struggled to educate their child up to class 8 and tell them to go to a school like Lenana and are supposed to pay to spend 150,000 shillings to enter there. That is immoral. So the idea of free education is a universal idea. It works elsewhere. It should work here. It must be really free, like Raila said, really free. And that, my worry is not that these things can be done or cannot be done. My worry is, do we have a team that can stop theft? Number one. Number two, is Raila or Ruto prepared to stop being short-sighted when they're hiring people? That's where the problem is. When they hire people, they are short-sighted. They don't see beyond certain circles. They reproduce. Inbreeding, crossbreeding. Gloria can sing on this TV for 100 years. So long as she's not in that circle, nobody will ever see the idea she's saying. Someone like me, I mean, I should run the treasury of this country. But they will not look at me. That's where the problem is.
Hey guys, can we be serious? This is a national platform. We are talking about Professor Manyora running treasury. Excuse me? No, ask you to be serious. No. Let us be serious. Manyora, let us be serious. How can we even be sitting here discussing?
Let him execute his
Gloria has a problem. If you asked her why Manyora wouldn't run treasury, she will have no words.
But here, ask
she
me.
will just say maybe he's not.
Can I be asked so that I can answer?
Let him execute. Let him execute, please.
Maybe Manyora is not an economist.
You are my place, Professor.
But she forgets that if you count the ministers who have run treasury and get one of them who is an economist, you may have a problem. The ones I can remember. I can remember Adam Magugu, I can remember Masahala, I can remember Okeno, I can remember Mudavadi, I can remember Rotich, How many of them were economists? So I don't know why you are saying that Bito cannot run treasury.
But they can run
Please, we give you the mic. Tell us why Bito cannot run treasury.
First, I'd like to say, Manyora, myself, I can't even run treasury. And not because I am not capable, but because you need the skill sets. My father was the deputy chief economist of this country. That is where he retired. God rest his soul in peace. And when I hear Manyora saying, "Hata me, I can run that," I'm really wondering on what basis. I just tried to have you explain the 6,000 per household and how you are going to generate that income, or even the back-end engineering of it. And he was incapable of doing that. So how then? No, he said that there are people who have worked on it. Those people who have worked on it are the people who we want the answers, and those are the people who are probably capable or incapable of running a ministry like Treasury. So let's not also just elicit exciting feelings. But the fact of the matter is, Azimio has never really had the economy as their agenda. And we know for a fact that one of the things, even if they did not unveil them yesterday in the manifesto, one of the things that we are 100% sure they are going to try and bring back in the first 100 days of Baba in office is BBI, so that they can expand that executive, so that all those people unaona wanajipanga huko wakina Kalonzo na nani will be able to now comfortably sit in offices and earn a salary. Okay. So these are the things, like Manyora has said, this is not for the electorate. This is something that they did because they knew they had to do it quickly, and since they were copying, they had to be the first ones to go out and shout their manifesto. But we know that the real agenda of Azimio is to create positions for the people that are there at the top, and the real agenda for Azimio actually is that they are a project of Uhuru Kenyatta and the continuity for whatever it is that the Kenyattas have been doing, and business protection. That's the real agenda. It has nothing to do with Kenyans. It has nothing to do with the electorate. In fact, the agenda is just to capture power. After that, in fact, when I ask them and I say, you guys are so focused on winning the presidential seat, but I don't see you paying attention in how you're going to have majority in the Senate, majority in the National Assembly. And the answers that these people tell me is, wacha kwanza baba ingie, hizo zingine tutatafuta budget, we will be buying the MPs so they can pass our interest, we will be buying the Senate. So these guys, their interest is just to capture power. The guy has run 5 times. He has, hata mkilaunch nini, his only sole interest is to get into that office. And the other people behind him are part of the project of the succession politics that Uhuru Kenyatta is pushing. So voting for Raila Odinga is like voting for Uhuru Kenyatta again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Manyora, let's move to the issue. You mentioned about corruption. Everybody talks about corruption in this country. Oh, we fight corruption. We've had it for the longest time. I'm sure you've also had it in these years that you've been around here. You've had all these things, fighting corruption. But when you look at all these political divides, they are almost, there is cycles of all the administration that we've seen in this country. And do you think there's anybody from either side of this political landscape that is really committed to fighting corruption? Because they have all had an opportunity at some point in life to fix all these things. Do you think there's any commitment in this country to fix corruption? Someone argued one day that it's also another economic activity in this country. Do you think there's commitment to fight corruption?
It's difficult. Okay. It's difficult because corruption is an industry in this country. Okay. What makes corruption very difficult to fight, really, I don't like calling corruption. I just call it theft of public funds. What makes it difficult is the leadership of the country is itself part and parcel of the corruption networks. So fighting corruption may not be easy. Now, if you are looking at the teams, I think now we are talking about 2 teams.
Yes.
We are looking at the William Ruto team and the Raila Odinga team. On the face of it, I mean, if you ask anybody, on the face of it, even Gloria, when she's not on TV, you ask her quietly, just quietly say, Gloria, you are a nice girl, you are in this country, you may not have the history of this country, but a little you know. Since we don't see we have nothing tangible to go by, we're just looking at the people. You look at Ruto, Rigathi, then you look at Raila, Martha Karua. I mean, even before you talk about it, who are you likely to believe? Just your instincts and even common sense. Between the two, who can you believe can fight corruption? Will it be the Ruto team or the Raila team? And if you find a little difficult to answer...
Although, Bitok, I beg for an apology, because you just insulted me there that I don't know the history of this country. Can you apologize first?
I apologize.
You'll get a button.
No, so you get
Thank you.
You get that. So, or if you are not even just looking at the names, then go a little further into their history. You look at Mother. What credentials does Mother Karua carry? Vis-a-vis, what credentials does Rigathi carry? If you look at Raila Odinga, what does he stand for? What has he stood for? What kind of person is he in the eyes of Kenyans? What has he been over the years? What has been driving him? And then you look at William Ruto. I mean, without going into the details, one would certainly, without any measure of doubt, believe the Raila Karua ticket can deliver on...
Are you saying these guys have never had an history? They've never had an opportunity to fix corruption?
It's not, let me tell you this, it is not very easy to do some of these things outside the seat of power. It's not very easy. You may give your contribution, but to change the direction of things requires that you be in State House. Yeah, that's why many people have come from the shadows. They were vice presidents or things of that nature. And when they take over power, you see transformations. So it's because a good DP, for example, is not a person to antagonize the boss. You may advise, but once you can see the drift of things, if you are intelligent, you can see this administration, this is what preoccupies this administration. This is how it is thinking. This is the mindset of the president. And you may then conclude there will be a waste of time to tell the president, let us jail the thieves. So you may wait until you are the president. But in their own small way, both Raila and Mother Karua have made contributions in the fight against bad governance and democracy and corruption in their own small way, from their own small positions. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. You don't believe Kenya Kwanza can fix corruption?
They can. I mean, I'm saying once we have to wait for you to go. We have to wait for you to go to State House. But I'm saying on the face of it.
On the face of it. Okay.
In other words,
so on the face
I even have nothing else to go by just looking at Ruto and Rigathi and look at Raila and Karua. I would have a problem believing Ruto can fight corruption more than Raila. You know, I'm saying on the face of it, and I'm speaking on behalf of many Kenyans. But Ruto can go to State House and prove all of us wrong. You get what I'm saying? He can go there and prove everybody wrong. He actually could be the man to jail thieves in this country. Yeah.
Gloria, is it possible to fix corruption in this country? Everybody talks about fixing corruption. Is it?
Definitely, but I agree with the Prof. By the way, you need to have all the instruments of power for you to be able to fix corruption. Why do I say that? When we are saying fixing corruption, first of all, we have to be able to arrest you, bitok kama umeiba pesa ya nini. We take you through the proper processes legally, and we have to push until we convict you. And that whole judicial system needs a budget. And that budget, as we sit now, is controlled by the executive. So again, if we are going to fix corruption, if we are going to ensure that we have convictions that DCI and all these agencies are actually doing what they are supposed to do. One, there has to be goodwill from the president. And then we have to be able to give proper resources to those agencies that need to actually bring forth convictions. You know, if you convict one or two people, then it becomes serious that, by the way, this thing, if you are caught stealing public resources, you are going to go to jail. So there's a whole system there that needs an overhaul, and there's a whole system there that actually needs to be completely detached from the executive so that it can have full independence and its budget not controlled by the executive. And that's why I say I agree with Prof. In order for you to fix corruption, number one, you must be in State House as the president, not as the chief of staff or the deputy president, as the president. So then that begs the question. Since the handshake, Baba and Uhuru Kenyatta have been very close friends. And as a matter of fact, Uhuru Kenyatta has actually come out and said that afadhali huyu mzee ananisaidia, right? meaning that he has that level of influence in terms of kusaidia president to push some of the things that he thinks are good for this country. When we had the COVID funds stolen and Kenyans were literally killed by thugs in the name of COVID billionaires, our president came out and said that he has given, he's giving us how many days? How many days do you remember he said?
It was
21 or something.
21 days.
Yeah. Akasema in 21 days ikitu we are going to find who stole and the nephews and nieces are going to be convicted. So till today we are counting how many days, you can imagine. So there's no goodwill from the person who has the full autonomy and all the instruments of power to actually deal with corruption. Now, then I need to ask Kenyans to think about it this way. That person is the same person who is now saying that we must vote for Baba. Uhuru Kenyatta now is the one who is pushing, telling Kenyans, huyu mzee amenisaidia, tumpigie kura, this is the person who can deal. But let me ask you, like, very quite frankly, do you think that this Raila Odinga, who has been closely for the last 2 or 3 years working with Uhuru Kenyatta, who has not pushed for any convictions in Uhuru Kenyatta's government with all the influence that he has, who has not spoken to his brother Uhuru Kenyatta and told him, by the way, Kenyans died of COVID, Kenyans died of KEMSA, Kenyans died of the managed equipment scandal, services. Kenyans have been dying even in the recent past because there are people, a few here, who have been stealing. They can't do that because the people, a few here who have been stealing, again from the inner circle of the same guys who are pushing for the succession politics of Raila Odinga. So, who is going to fight corruption? I will tell you, not Raila Odinga. And there's a story that people keep wanting to suppress that, when we were given the running mates, and there was this juxtaposition of people trying to say, huyu ako hivi, na huyu ako kama pamba. I want to remind Kenyans of what happened to John Githongo when he blew the whistle on corruption. What happened is, allegedly, he was forced out of this country by forces that were actually, allegedly, part of them were Martha Karua. So, you want to ask yourself, if indeed sisi tuko white kama pamba, and we had all these opportunities when we were Minister of Justice, when we did the handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, we have had all these opportunities. When you tell us now that you're going to fix corruption and you have been in those spaces where you can influence change and actually push for convictions, yet you did not, we can't believe you. We really can't believe you. So it is the same thing when they say they will bring fertilizers down to 2,000. Munya is in Azimio. Munya currently is sitting in office. You want to tell me you cannot make those fertilizer prices right now, from that 6,000 to 2,000? So you can't keep fooling Kenyans. And I think, unfortunately or fortunately, ni kama sasa unajua pia these levels of poverty force you to open your eyes. So Kenyans are very awake, and we are saying, tumesikia manifesto, we have seen the things you have tried to put together. What we are glad is that at least this time is not TB Mantialala. At least this time you have tried to put something together, but we don't believe in it.
All right. Quickly moving forward, we took there was a clearance done yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya. We saw a Kenyan who banned his ID. It's voters card. An independent candidate alichoma kura cheti cha kupiga kura. He banned his voters. I mean, maybe it was an act of defense. Maybe it was a message of I've given up. In this country, I don't need my voters card. It doesn't mean anything anymore. We saw drama as well between Wanjigi and Jebukati. Jebukati kazima microphone. Wanjigi. We've seen also Nyambane's certificate has been withdrawn.
Yes.
I mean, it's tears everywhere. Kila mtu analia. What do you make of the clearance process that we witnessed yesterday?
Allow me before that. I've just seen, I was looking at Twitters as the program was going on. I've seen this Mitumba thing is actually trending at number 1.
Yes.
Allow me
you can make a comment on the
Mitumba. See, Mitumba may be nice because if you look at our history, we used to work with the tattered clothes, with matako yanaonekana until Mitumba took shape. And then there are people who are now living from Mitumba. But there are other things to look at. First, how will you ever industrialize, especially, how will you ever promote textile industry in this country and cotton growing when you bring second-hand clothes. That's a challenge, and many countries have faced it. The most bold one from the region was from Kagame. I've seen a tweet from Bruno here, from Kagame. Paul Kagame. And he said, no, Americans got annoyed. They told him, even Agua to Tatoa, I told you Toa. Because of the simple truth that you cannot promote textiles in your country when you are importing Mitumba and other cheap clothing from outside the country. Number two, about Mitumba, the dignity of a human being is important. You may go to Kikomba and you are Gloria. You may get into a camera, a nice top camera, But if you ever go to Kikomba, and I think our media should do this, they should go to Kikomba and focus their camera on tano, kumi, the kind of things Kenyans are shaking to buy. Underwear, socks. Underwear is a very personal item. Brass. What? You must address dignity of a human being. We cannot allow our people to be pushed to those levels. Now, so if I was the president, among the first thing I'll do, I'll ban Mitumba. They will not come here even one. I'll not even increase. I'll not even. Pardon?
He actually banned Mitumba was banned.
Yeah.
It was we and you know what happened during that time when they banned Mitumba? There was a huge crisis. And it's not a crisis which you, Prof, you can understand because where unajua Mtumba.
No.
So those who anava Mtumba, they actually suffered, and those who eat from that industry.
There's something I wanted to
those who have their bread earned from that industry suffered. So it was banned.
There's something I wanted to pick from you, Prof. Well, growing up in the textile industry, that used to make people used to wear local clothes and all that. So for us to understand the problem statement here, we need to understand how did we get here? How did we have Mitumba then? If you're saying you're banning Mitumba, you fixed what brought Mitumba.
What I'm saying is this, and I think Gloria maybe was on phone, so she wasn't following, because I laid the ground properly. I said, it is business to many Kenyans. They make a living out of it.
Yes.
I also said they are affordable. And they have pushed Kenyans from the days people used to walk with naked almost. You could see a piece of clothing, you couldn't know the original color, I mean patches. So that's what I said. She wasn't listening. I know that. And I said it serves a purpose both from a livelihood point of view and also from just utility. People need the cloth. But I also argued that if you are going to grow your own industries, especially in the textile sector, then you must bite the bullet. Then it becomes a challenge. If we ban Mitumba, what shall we do with the people who find this the only clothing they can afford? Number one. What shall we do with the people who earn a living from this? I've already said that. So countries face greater challenges than this. This is just one of the challenges we will face. I have told you even the genesis for you. You're also not listening. You're on your computer. I said even the genesis, how it started. The people were walking naked. Now, people try to have, we had ginger from Uganda, clothing. It was initially ginger. Then we had our own kikomis later. But it was a question of kushona nguo. It was easier to get a ready-made thing. Ready-made things that were imported would be much more expensive. It was before this era of plastics from China. These clothes and shoes we wear, which are plastics, which are just cheap and substandard. So what I'm saying, this is a challenge we must face. But for Mitumba, it's not just because of the industry. It is because of the dignity of a Kenyan woman, a Kenyan man, having to go to Kikomba na kununua underwear, a woman buying underwear used by another woman in some part of the country at 5. That dignity, we cannot compromise on that. So we have to address it with the challenges. Now to your question about Nyambane, Jimmy Wanjigi. I think the law is very clear. In that matter, you need to have a degree. When Nyambane went, I think he had transcripts. As a teacher from my university, I know that once you have your transcripts, you are as good as done. And any employer should not bother about a degree. The paper itself, the graduation is a formality. The paper.
Ceremony.
I mean the ceremony that then grants you the degree certificate. But when the law then requires that you have it, it means you must have gone up to and including the graduation and you have the degree certificate. So Nyambane didn't, but they allowed him. When Wanjigi came, I don't know whether they were now realizing or whether they were working or whether they were acting under instructions as Jimmy Wanjigi tells us. But right from the word go, they shouldn't have cleared Nyambane because he didn't have a degree. It must be ready completely and not anticipated. And therefore, Jimmy, it is the same. Clearing him would not have been a problem. But let me tell you, I have sung this song for a long time. We in this country do not know the meaning of ability. When you are going for something, why don't you work with the people with capacity to help you do something? I come from my place. I've seen people trying to be governors and their running mates have issues. Did they have people around them who are processing these things for them? If I'm Jimmy Wanjigi with all the money I have, if I was his advisor, I would just sit with the vice chancellor. Because you are finished. You have finished your degree. Because that's the question, is not that he has finished. What we know the public knows that he has a transcript.
He said he's graduating in December.
He's graduating in December.
Yes.
So that I'm saying, if he had somebody like me next to him, Gloria may not like it, may think I'm not capable of advising. I would have told him, look here. In many universities, for example in South Africa, you do not necessarily have to graduate in your university. When you are finished and your university is not ready for graduation, they can send you to another university. They just send your details there and you graduate. And your degree will read your original university. So what would be the problem with the Wanjigi fast-tracking graduation in Desta? It's not a big deal. You are not buying a degree. You are just saying instead of December, can we have a graduation earlier than that? And the vice chancellor can go to Senate and say, we have people here who need this certificate to run for office. And can we have the graduation in September? There's nothing bad. If there are costs to it, you just meet the cost. In any case, I've always argued, our universities are doing parents and students a lot of disservice because when you are graduating and you are in a crowd of thousands of people, where is the fun? We need to have as many graduations as possible in 1 year. So that when people are ready, they are just graduated like in other countries. So that when your parent comes and you have friends, you are just in a room like 100 people. The cameras are there rolling, the video, and it's wonderful. Why do we wait until we have thousands of students to graduate? Now with thousands of guests and thousands of parents, the whole thing is useless. So I'm saying, you cannot fault Chepkati. But I have a problem with people like Jimmy Wanjigi, who could have known better. It was possible they could have gotten that graduation earlier than December. There's no problem about it. But you cannot fault Chepkati. Another thing about the presidential candidate, and I want to be really happy with Chepkati. I must be allowed to be happy with Chepkati. If you have the number of people who wanted to run, how can you have an election? Going forward, Parliament, it's too bad Gloria didn't go there, but next time I'm sure she'll go. Parliament must make the necessary laws to make sure we lock out jokers from presidential campaigns. Because they can plunge the country into chaos. Because if you had there were more than 40, supposing you cleared them, the voting itself will take, how long will it take? How long will it take? How long will you be in the telephone booth going through that booklet?
40 guys.
Yeah, you'll take 3 days to process the presidential election. I'm telling you, it's very difficult. Second, and that will cause chaos in the country. Secondly, you need to protect these people from harm. Because if one of them dies, the candidate or their running mate, then the election is postponed. Imagine postponing an election in this child environment. It can cause chaos. So we need to make the laws so that we do not blame the IBC, we do not blame the Chepkati of tomorrow. The law must be very clear that to run as a president, you need to deposit 10 million shillings or 100 million shillings. You get it? That money will be funded to you if you get at least 15% of the total votes, because you are not a joker. But if you are a joker, the money will go away. So we lock away all the jokers. Don't tell me our rice, you are selling the president to the highest bidder. Even that 200,000 shillings. How many people can afford it in this country? 99.99% of Kenyans can't even afford that 200,000 shillings. So it is still for a few. Why not we be honest with ourselves and say a presidential ballot is not a joke house. It's a place for serious people who want to lead their country. Lock out all jokers by law.
All right. Gloria, how do you make of it? The clearing
that is such elitist thinking. Only an elitist can sit somewhere and say, hii mahali si ya watu wengine, hapa tu ni kama umeweza. Do you know we are all Kenyans? Do you know I'm a Kenyan? Bichok, you're a Kenyan. Do you know every Kenyan who's born here, even the ones you consider jokers, they have a right to vote and to be voted for. And by the way, this is one of the reasons I petitioned that degree law in Section 22, the Election Act, when they were trying to say that even MCAs and MPs and everybody should have a degree. How can you sit here and say that everyone must have a degree in order for them to come and have and actually actively try and participate in their rights to vote or be voted for, you know? And these degrees that you're saying everyone must have, which university have you seen is free for all Kenyans? Do you know that there's a girl child in Samburu who was auctioned for dowry, who didn't even finish class 7, yet she's a leader. Okay. So now, as a marginalized group of people, you know, the girl child in Samburu, you are also on top of her, telling her that, you know, shida zako umekuwa nazo za early marriage. You're also telling her now we are even going to make sure that you never ever get a chance to you know, practice your rights. On top of that, we need a degree from you. So sometimes I hear this as Mio fellas speaking and I get upset because they really think that this country is theirs and theirs only and that it does not belong to some of us, you know?
But it is an IBC issue. It's not
so, no, it is a Kenyan issue and we must fight it with everything we have. It is a Kenyan, it's not an IBC issue. When you have someone in studio saying that, you know, this presidential race is not for jokers, what are they trying to tell us? That if you are born in Kibera or Kawangware or Mukuru, or if you are born to a single mother, or if you are born to you don't even know who because you are an orphan when you are very young, we are saying you are a joker by virtue of the fact that you do not have 200,000 or 10 million or whatever it is you're trying to imply there. No. You are a Kenyan and you have every right. And if you think in your region where you live, whether you have a home or you don't have a home, if you think you are capable of getting 1 or 2 or 3 people to believe in you and they can vote for you, then you have every right to participate in an election as a candidate or as a voter.
So you have a problem with the clearance process?
I have a problem with elitist thinking. I have a problem with and you know, this is why we're here. This is why this country has reached here, where we only have certain families, the Odingas and the Kenyattas, and you know, those people who, this is our country and you must be serious enough to be a presidential candidate. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. But we are reminding them in this election here that even a chicken seller is serious enough to be a candidate. We are reminding them that even Wajakoya, who you might not take seriously because it does not come from your line of thought, we are reminding them that Wajakoya is a Kenyan. And while he is a Kenyan, he has every right to actually participate in this election. And if he thinks, which he thinks, that he can actually become the president, we are reminding them that Wajakoya, same as William Ruto, same as Raila Odinga, actually garnered all the signatures that he needed to be cleared by IEBC. So this elitist thinking of dignity. Sasa mumeingiza maneno ya dignity. Now let me ask you. You know, to Professor Manyora, for him, he cannot wear anything second-hand because that is not befitting of his dignity. Unaona? Yeye pali amezaliwa na yeye pali ametoka with a golden spoon in his mouth. That saying munasema, yes, iba vitu kama hizo because please, why? Yeah? Let me remind him that there is somebody who was born in the gutter, literally in the sewer, whose mother struggled to even come out of the sewer and have a shanty, just have a metal roof over their head and that child. That person, their dignity has not been tampered with when they go and they spend their own hard-earned 50 shillings or 5 shillings and buy themselves a piece of clothing. Their dignity is intact. Can I tell you that? Hao watu wenye wamezaliwa State House ndio wako na shida ya dignity na mtumba. Hao ndio wanaona mtumba, you know, it's like it's now stressing our dignity because, you know, as elites, we only wear designers. Let me tell you something about that mtumba industry, and please allow me because we'll talk about
policy matter. I would want to understand.
On policy matter, yes, because I've seen people think we are calling ourselves policy analysts and we don't know policy. We know policy. Okay. There's a time when our president banned Mtumba, and the policy that they were trying to push is that we have to actually push our local textile industry. Okay. So we are saying these Chinese things, these American things that are coming that are secondhand, what they are doing is they are stopping people from buying the local textile, the local clothing, you know, Upper Kenya, Ankara, or whatever you want to call it. And so now the policy was that in order for us to push that our manufacturing on the textile is actually appreciated by Kenyans, we are going to ban the Mtumba. Mm-hmm. Now, when we had a monopoly in our telecommunications, and we were trying to push M-Pesa, you know, did we ban Airtel? Did we say, Airtel, nyinyi ni waindi, na tutaki waindi hapa, tunataka sasa local communication, so wacha sasa to ban Airtel, to ban, there was another one that came, I remember those days, what. Did we ban all those industries, those companies, so that now we can focus on our local M-Pesa, Safaricom? No. What Safaricom did is that they understood this is actually a competitive field. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to be able to secure these local clients, these Kenyans, I must be able to understand why are they now purchasing those Airtel SIM cards and not Safaricom? Or because those ones are cheap, let us try and see how we can be competitive in price. Mm-hmm. You cannot say that in order for our industry to thrive, by the way, even if today you ban the Mitumba industry, and we still have Ankara per piece selling at 5,000 Kenya shillings a piece, who told you that me, who earns 250 shillings a month, is going to buy that Ankara? Mm-hmm. That is not the solution. Mm-hmm. So in terms of policy, when you're looking at policy that you want to say, we want to introduce, it's the same thing they did with scrap metal, because you want to make sure that a certain sector thrives. Mm-hmm. You know, you cannot force clients, customers to buy your things because umefunga market. And the only people who do that are the people who actually push for monopolies in industry. And who are those people who have monopolized milk? Who have monopolized licenses for you to sell oil? Who have monopolized? Those are the kind of people who are now coming back to try and monopolize an industry. But if they really mean good for this textile industry, they should sit down with those players and ask them, why is it so expensive? Me, this top I'm wearing, this one, to be honest, I bought at 550. Why is it so expensive for me to buy a local, you know, something that is, you know, made in Kenya, here in Mombasa Road at 4,000? They should start understanding, let us look how we are going to have competitive pricing so that we can compete with the market as is. So in terms of policy, the policy that you could be pushing perhaps is, in order for us to push this industry, perhaps let us limit on how much we can bring in. Let us limit on the quality of what we can bring in, because Mtumba industry pia iko na quality. As nani professor amesema, kuna camera, kuna nini. You can also say we are trying to make it competitive without killing this our local textile. So what can we do? What kind of policy can we improve? But to wake up one morning and say, leo we are banning Uasin Gishu milk because we want Brookside to thrive is complete nonsense. So at the end of the day, we will talk about Mtumba day and night, but for me it is the symbol of, there is a group of people in this country, in the name of Azimio, who have really thought that this country is theirs. And anyone who's not in Azimio does not belong to Kenya. And anyone who's not in Azimio is not befitting enough to participate in this election. And we are saying as hustlers, we are not buying into that fear. You can ban all the industries you want to ban. You can monopolize them as you have monopolized. Kwani the milk industries, it has been monopolized for years and years. But we are still, unajua sisi bado tutanunua ile maziwa inatoka kutoka kwa ule farmer mwenye analeta na kibuyu, because we are saying, as hustlers of this country, we have a right to participate in this election, and we have a right to actually question those kind of things that you are pushing to us. And we also have a right to say, if you are going to say degrees and whatever is what we need, na hizo university pia nani bitok wafungulie watoto wote, such that ukitoka form 4, whether you have a D, whether you have an E, there is something available for you at a university for you to either bridge to a course and get to a place. Because elitist thinking, 2022 Kenya is for everybody, every single person, who's Kenyan belongs to this country. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any battle?
Na nitakununulia mtumba, Professor Manyora, nitakununulia jacket ya kamera.
You know, Gloria was not here when you asked me who I was. She hadn't come. I told him Manyora is a simple person. I'm a small, simple person from Lumbe village. A villager.
What's it dynasty?
No, I'm a villager. I own even nothing. And sometimes I surprise people when they find me come a tattoo. Because I'm a simple Kenyan. I own nothing, Gloria. So I'm not elitist. I'm not anything. You see, when you talk about Mitumba, Gloria, really, we are talking about international trade, international business between nations. And when trade between nations began taking shape in the world, it became necessary to have some measure of control. Otherwise, if you allowed everything into your country, then you'll collapse. What are your national interests? And that is how the issue of tariffs comes in. So tariffs are part of international trade, and you can't avoid them. And countries always look at what is in their best interest. Trump, for example, argued that there will be no point in exporting American jobs when American companies go and produce things from China, go and manufacture things from Mexico and then bring back to America. They are exporting thousands of jobs, and he did something about it. This is the kind of thing we are talking about Mitumba. You must understand it within the context of international trade, within the context of trade barriers, trade tariffs, national interests, and so on and so forth. It's not a very simple thing of just waking up and saying Mitumba is this. No, you have to understand that a country must have its own interests, including dignity of its own citizens. It can even go to war to protect the interests and the dignity of its citizens and the pride of the nation. These are things you cannot quantify or put value to very easily. Their countries go to war just because they have been slighted. Countries protect what is theirs, including the dignity of their people having to buy second-hand underwear, and it's normal. And then the textile you have to grow. Yeah, it's everything. It's a much more. A
person who has bought a second-hand car has no dignity.
I'm saying it is much more complex than you are trying to put it. No. So it's a little more complex than that. Even the so-called second-hand clothes, we are making Japan rich. These are issues. These are conversations. National leadership going forward from 2022, 2027. I'm sure by the time we have our president in State House in 2032, wherever that will be, what Gloria is raising will be an issue on the table. That really, is it in our national interest to drive Mitumba vehicles? Can't we have our own manufacturing lines so that a Kenyan can afford a car? Those are conversations, and they are normal. They have been going on.
But not in isolation, you know.
I'm saying they are normal.
Like, look at Mobius. You know, also, we are in 2022. You must compete with the market.
I'm saying...
so why are you not driving a Mobius?
I'm saying it's okay. What
Prof,
I'm saying...
Why are you not driving a Mobius? Why are you driving Toyota?
Just listen to what I'm saying. Just listen to what I'm saying. I began by saying we are in the context of international trade and the national interests. And what is in their interest, including even that issue of dignity, including of textile industries and other industries, including the motor industry. These are things, these are conversations Kenyans will always have. When a new man comes, like Raila is coming, he could come with an idea about Mitumba and another thing. When Bitok becomes president, when we have forgotten that Kalenjins had ruled for 24 years and we want to give him a chance, you could also come up with, you could also come up with an idea. Now, the issue of seriousness about presidential candidates. We saw 50 people wanted to be president, around 50. I think you remind me, are they 50 or something? 47 or
50
people.
Actually. 50, yes.
Wamechuja wamebaki wanne. The process of kuchuja is what has given us 4. Now, if we didn't chuja, even before kuchuja, there were things that kept other people away. Not everybody can afford 200,000 shillings. So according to Gloria, we should not stand in the way of any Kenyan wanting to be elected. So that 200 must be removed. In their own thinking, Apart from the degree, I support the idea of a degree. It's useless. Yeah, I don't think that's an idea. Moi was here without even a secondary school education, and he did his thing for 24 years. I agree with you, Gloria, that the degree one is useless. So we remove the degree one. We remove the 200,000 shillings. Let's remove even signatures, because if you're asking somebody to traverse 24 if you ask somebody to traverse 24 counties to collect signatures, then you're asking to spend money. You cannot move in 24 counties collecting signatures without using hundreds of thousands of shillings at the very least. It can, maybe $1 million is not even enough to move in 24 counties and convince people to give you their signature. Let's remove that, so that all you need is to be a Kenyan. Proof of Kenyan is an ID, and you are beyond 18. You submit yourself to Chebukati just to sign a role that I'm now a candidate. Gloria, we will have more than 10 million.
You know you're patronizing.
No, listen.
No, you're patronizing.
Listen. Let me finish. No, I'll finish. I'll finish. Please.
Let her finish.
Please.
Allow him to finish.
Because you are saying we are making this thing elitist. And I'm arguing that even 200,000 shillings is elitist. Just as a degree requirement is elitist. Just like trying to go to 24 counties to get 2,000 signatures is elitist, because a man from Kibera cannot walk to Viga to collect 2,000 signatures. He will need money to go there, to stay there, or send people. So let's remove all those things. Then our election is not elitist. Ni ya Mkenya wa kawaida. Sasa siku imefika. Mtu anahitaji tu ID peke yake kusimama urais. Sasa mimi nauliza Bitoko. Najua wakala nyinyi wajua Kiswahili. Wacha niingie kwa Kizungu. If all you need is an ID to
Why are you profiling me? I feel you have to withdraw and apologize.
I withdraw and apologize. If all you require is a national ID and you are beyond 18, even you're 18 to toy, because it's also, it is segregating against young people. But let's have it anyway. Then I ask you, how many people want to run for president?
I would want to.
Sure. And the question is, will you then have an election? No. When we say jokers, we are saying simply this, Gloria. You cannot joke your way to State House. But doesn't mean a poor man cannot be elected. Poor men have been elected across the world. If you have an idea and the Kenyans believe in you, they will fundraise for you, even if it is paying 100 million to be a presidential candidate. Kenyans will give you 100 million and they will finance your campaign. The idea of these hurdles, if you want to call them that, the payment of 200,000, it should even be more, the degree, the whatever, the 24 signatures, is to ensure that only serious people become candidates for office of president. At the end of the day, Bitok, is how much you esteem your country.
Okay.
How do you esteem your country? Do you value your country? If you think just about anybody can run for office of president of your country, then you don't think much about your country. That is the issue. It's not a question.
Wacha tusikie wananchi wanasemaje. Bunge la wananchi. Headphones ziko hapo. Headphones ya Prof. Bunge la wananchi jambo. Gloria, headphones pale. Bunge la wananchi jambo. Bunge la wananchi jambo.
Yes.
Jambo. Kama yamepoteza kidogo. Aha. Bunge la wananchi liko wazi, nambari ni 0727913222 0727919322. Bunge la wananchi liko wazi, nambari ni 0727919322. Haya. Bunge la wananchi jambo. Bunge la wananchi.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. My name is Donald. I'm watching. Yes, doing your show. And
Naongea na nani? Who am I speaking to? Who am I speaking to, sir?
my question is to Gloria. We have the deputy president on record talking about the burning in the Tumba, but then she's not mentioning that. And also her being a policy analyst, I would like her to understand from macro level what is, whether she has a case study where the Tumba is actually, the economy of a country. The example of the country in Africa, they're not going, the West.
Okay. Haya, sijui kama msikia swali huyo mungwana Gloria. Bunge la benchi ilikuwa nambari ni 727. Naona kuna watu ambao wanapiga nambari nyingine, lakini nambari ni 727919322 au 727919322 au 727919322 au 727919322. Tabiri ni kama itabidi nimeconnect ile nyingine. Mimi niliuka answer ni kama watu wanatumia line ya kitambo. Endelea Gloria.
I think you know, whether or not there's been utterances from whoever in the past, you know, we don't come to studio because we are defending someone. We come to studio to give our thoughts.
Okay.
And my thoughts is, and it remains, that you cannot ban an industry just to ensure that another one thrives.
Okay.
What you can do is you can push to see policies that will make it fair, a fair ground for both industries.
Okay.
And those utterances, by the way, people must remember also, before William Ruto was the deputy president, he was also an amateur politician when he began. People grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bunge la benchi, jambo.
Hey.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hello?
Hey, mambo vipi?
Poa bwana.
Leta habari.
Kuna echo. Yeah, echo.
Unanisikia vizuri?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Haya.
Can I
Okay. Kama kidogo. Tusikii. Bunge la benchi liko wazi. Okay, unaweza tumia nambari ya kitambo 07798010 07798010. Bunge la benchi liko wazi. Nambari ni 07798010 plus 2547798010 07798010. Nambari liko wazi 07798010. Haya, kama ngona kidogo wanachanganyikiwa na nambari mpya 07798010 07798010. Nimeona chairman Arama kidogo hapo, na kuna swali nimeona ametumia hapa kindly ask chairman, mambo vipi?
Hey.
Chairman, jambo. Vipi?
Unajua mimi nimeenda auto mode nikapiga laini ya zamani.
Unimeona, acha tubaki hapo kwa sababu sasa
Yeah. Sasa Gerald.
Yes sir.
Unajua saa zingine we stop and I don't want to sound disrespectful, but we stop thinking in terms of our country.
Okay.
And gunning for simple and tangible local solutions. I will give you an example, and I hope we'll talk about this later on. For example, the other day, wametangaza there is a company in Mombasa, wamefunga factory ya kutengeneza mafuta ya kupika kwa sababu hawana raw materials.
Yes, funny way.
Gerald, I'm asking, in Mombasa kuna coconut. You can do coconut. That is cooking oil. We have groundnut, peanut, soybean, sunflower. So why don't you use the local material to produce what you need?
Okay.
Now, in the context of what Gloria and Professor walikuwa wana back and forth about mitumba industry, I'll be very honest. To me, anybody who is supporting creation of local industry, because something at least from this perspective, if we can make our local industries more vibrant, that means employment, use our own materials, use our own product. The farmer mwenye anagrow cotton analipwa vizuri, so material inaenda, wewe unapata biashara, unauza nguo.
Kama umepoteza.
Why is it so expensive to produce materials in Kenya and produce clothes in Kenya? That's what we need to ask. The other is too much taxation. So if we reverse that and make sure that it's going to be viable and easy for us to produce our own product, then the issue of Mtumba, it will be over. Now, let's even, for the argument's sake, let me focus on the other issue that Gloria raised about vehicles. To some extent, vehicles have some sort of standard. Did I lose you? Pole.
I can hear nakusikia chama. Nakusikia.
To some extent, the motor vehicle industry have some standard. Because sababu always import all manners of vehicles. You have to import vehicles up to a certain year. So they have some standard that make sure that you are bringing vehicles that are actually going to be viable and are going to be safe in the road. Haya, kama uta apply the same
Bunga la Mwenchi jambo. Bunga la Mwenchi jambo. Good morning.
Good morning, Gerald. There's a lot of echoes. This is Kalia Menokwisha.
Mambo chama Menokwisha vipi?
Niko salama, nashukuru. Nimekuwa nikisikiza mjadala. And okay, I think I'll still go back to stories Mtumba, but then I'll not talk about it sana. I think okay, I would really love to see a government that promotes local industries and all that. But then also we must face the reality that even majuzi, Gerald, you remember, there was a time hatukuwa na mafuta the whole country, yet our neighbors wenye wana mafuta inapita kwetu ikienda kwao walikuwa nayo. My friend, if we are to ban Mtumba in this country, there is a day tutatembea uchi kwa sababu hakuna nguo hii Kenya.
So wasibane Mtumba.
No, let them not ban Tumba. I think there's a better way to do it. You cannot kill a whole industry just because you want to promote a local whatever. Because there are so many things that we are still importing. So I think all you can do is to promote, but then you cannot say you demote another one, then promote another one. It's very unrealistic. And then also about, generally about the whole manifesto, I also had issues with even the mathematics. Sama kuna mtu alikuwa amechanganyikiwa na hesabu kidogo mahali. You go into the figures as Indiani, you cannot like the 6,000 promise. I think it's been debated before, and you notice that it was taking around 40% of the current 3.3 trillion budget. Now you cannot tell me that you'll allocate 65. It is not. It is very unrealistic. So without, I think the only thing I was calling about was about the Mtumba thing, because that has taken the bigger part of the discussion this morning. I would just say you cannot kill another industry to create another one. Just try to promote the one you want to thrive, but then the other one must be there because there are people who still love it, there are people who still want to wear it. And this country is one of those countries that has proven that government is the worst when it comes to doing business. We have a government, over time, we have factories, Tukona Rivertex, we have other factories, and you see the way they're operating, and you feel that our government has failed actually when it comes to doing businesses. So let them promote the environment for private investors to start those factories. But then if it's the government doing it, then it's something else. Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Msikale. Na usalimie Menokwisha.
Okay.
Na waje stop rigging. Okay, hiyo ni tema Menokwisha. Alama, still pole. Unajua simu yako itasumbuliwa kidogo kwa sababu ni WhatsApp na simu zingine zinakaa kwenye simu. Jambo. Endelea.
Yes. I was listening to the Herman Manyora about the Mtumba akasema
Tasumbuliwa kidogo. Haya, hujambo bunga la Mwenchi jambo. Bunga la Mwenchi jambo. Jambo, mambo vipi? Na uzime kwenye background kwa nani?
Yeah, I want to contribute to Bitok the tackle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so but somebody is talking on the line. So is that Bitok?
Yes. This is me. This Bitok.
Okay, so I'm asking.
Yes.
I want to contribute in the sense very fast. The issue of presidential candidate. If we allow Joker to run the way the Prof is saying, like 5,000 people clear, because they can meet. What you need to do is just meet the requirement, and then you are clear. What will happen in the event that 1 or 2 or 3 people die, and what that will indicate on the other side? For example, governors, we will have more than 10 million people run for political posts. Because what you all need to do is to be the requirement. What will happen after that? Yes.
Okay. So unataka requirements iko.
Hello.
So you want the requirements to be retained? The minimum requirement.
Yes, what I'm asking, I want Gloria to respond because the Prof has said, the professor said that we must eliminate jokers. What happens when one dies out of 5,000 presidential candidates, or 2 or 3? We can even carry the election can be postponed for 5 years, for another 5 years. So we must eliminate jokers. In fact, we should introduce so strict. For example, I would like Chebukat to introduce this. If you want to vote for a president, you must give us your money in advance, like agent, at least 3 agents per police station, because the problem starts at the police station.
Okay.
After that, you give us money. Each agent should be paid at least 1,000. So deposit 100 million for your campaign with the IEBC. If you are popular, in the event that you don't qualify, they can refund. You can work out which amount can be refunded and which amount can they can retain because of the clerical work. But we are not going to allow everybody to run for presidential candidate. That is just a waste of time.
Okay.
Everybody will go to the board.
Okay. Haya, asante. Haya, bunge la mwenye nchi jambo. Bunge la mwenye nchi jambo. Bunge la mwenye nchi jambo. Mambo vipi? Ongea na nani?
Naongea na Arab leo. So let me ask Manyora.
Unataka kuongea na Manyora?
Aniambie kwanza niongee.
Amewithdraw na apologize.
Anyway, let me thank him first for acknowledging that Tari is doing a good job. The price he's putting up there is elite. There's no way for that. So I think, and he came in and he spoke about, people that cannot afford. So he's talking from both maps, both sides of his map. So really, he needs to clarify that.
Okay.
But my question is, I wanted to ask him though about Raila's education, because it's kind of fake, right? Nobody has clarified. We really don't know his education background and stuff.
Okay.
I know he went to Germany, but he claims to be an engineer. But we've never seen anything tangible that we can believe in. Can you please clarify that for us?
Okay. All right. Asante bula mwenye jambo.
Jambo Gerald.
Mambo vipi?
Mzuri sana, huyu ni Robert.
Yes, Robert, niambie dada.
Niko na swali moja, and I think you're having a good discussion, but I think we should go back to the basics and ask ourselves, why are we where we are? Because if you look at the politicians that we have, most of them are the same things that have taken Kenya to where it is right now.
Okay.
As much as Professor is parading for Raila, he also has his take. He has fought for the country, yes. He's good. He has done all he has done. But he should tell us, instead of the 10-point agenda, can he go back to the basics and address what is hurting the local mwananchi?
Okay.
The issue of jobs, the issue of medical care, the issue of affordable school, going to university and all those kind of things. Those are the issues. The issue of food. Those are just the basic issues that Kenyans need to be addressed to. Not about the mitumba. They can wear the mitumbas as much as they want,
Okay.
But can they afford the food? We are missing the point. We are talking on big things, but by the end of the day, hata ukibani mutumba, Kenyans watafanya ni utauzia hiyo nguo expensive, wataenda uchi.
Okay.
They should tell us from where we are, what is required for us to do, at least to make food affordable, to make agriculture work. We have a government that is telling us we are losing 2 million every day.
2 billion.
How can we cut on that? 2 billion every day.
Okay.
I mean, the cost of food. We don't care about the cars and everything else. Kama mtu ameshimba tumbo, anaweza tembea mguu.
Haya. Asante. Kama mtu ameshimba anaweza.
I think Manyora should also address her, because he has an advantage of age and has been there for a while. Atuambie, why are we where we are and what should be done? What are the more basic things? Even if watasimama watu milioni moja, it's okay. Do they have an agenda for the country? Because hata ukiangalia manifesto ya Jubilee, it was so sweet. It was so nice. It was so enticing. But by the end of the day, imetufikisha wapi? we address the small basic things. Thank you.
All right. Asante sana. Thank you so much. Acha nirudi kwako chairman. Mambo vipi? Chairman. Haya, chairman kidogo pia baya. Jambo. Bila mwenyeshi niambie.
Hello. Yes, we talk.
Yes, yes.
I would like to ask some, for example, the 6,000 that I was talking about. I think that our problem is theft. Stop theft. Money is there because you were told. I don't know whether it was Maradakare or what, but we lose 2 billion daily through corruption. If we can fill that gap, Kenya is the 6th most top 10 richest country in Africa. Kenya top the list, 6th. Out of 53 countries, if Kenya is number 6 with this all corruption, what we need to do, forget about everything. We need the right woman or man in the state house. Then phone in today, tomorrow call a press conference and give the direction that this is what we are going to do. Forget about things to do with procurement in the government sector. Those are bullshit, rubbish. These taxes that are in petroleum, the road, remove all those taxes, broaden the tax base. Therefore, you will have enough money to run the country. Are you getting me?
I'm getting this.
The problem is theft. The problem is theft. Just feel the theft and everything will go smooth. We cannot run a country if we cannot stop corruption. We are here because of corruption. Let's stop corruption, then things will just go okay. Because we have a lot in place. The issue of Matumba is not that we remove Matumba, but there must be a systematic way to deal with it. We cannot just be a dumping site. Why should the Kenya be a dumping site for Matumba? We have river tax and all this. Let's exploit our potential. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of raw materials. Let it done in a systematic way that in the next 5 years, we are through with Matumba and we are proud of Kenya and we buy Kenya. Buy Kenya, build Kenya. That is it.
Thank you.
Then the issue of people running for offices. I want Kenyans, and this is for goodwill. Let us come together and agree that if you want to lead country, you must have some basics. You must have some requirements, and they must be very strict because everybody will go and run for MP, we will have close to 10 or more thousand people running. Okay. Now that alone will be corruption. Why? Because what will people do? People will go look for money, register parties, run in those parties, and it's like every village we will have a party, somebody's running, and therefore we will jeopardize even our democracy. That democracy is not good for us. Let us do it with some decorum, kind of.
Thank you,
we cannot go.
All right, finally, bunge la mwenyeji, siku ya mwisho. Bunge la mwenyeji jambo, ndio nirudi kwa chama na funge. Jambo. Ongea na nani?
Yes. Unaongea na Leo. Mr. Leo.
Yes, Leo.
So also to Manyora, right? Raila was the MP for it's Kibra now, but he was Kibera then.
It was Langata.
What did he ever do? Langata, yes. Okay. Did he ever improve anything in that constitution?
Asante. Okay. Rama, wacha ningangana na wewe kabisa. Rama.
Bwana Gerald.
Endelea.
Yes. Okay, asante sana. So, real quick, Gerald, I think we have talked enough about the Mutumba, but I just wanted to make one point. Okay. I'm not saying, and I don't support killing one industry for the sake of the other, but we can gradually start moving to the other aspect and still implement the same process to get the same people employed and thrive the industry. It's not cut and dry at Leo Simamisha to end the river tax. Apana. It has to be graduate. You have to have a plan. You can't just go anywhere. Addressing the issue about presidential elections and the presidential candidate, I think to me is simple. I had one of the person who called in and said you have to afford to pay agents in the polling station. Why would you need to have agents? We need to clean our electoral system, but having integrity in our electoral system by the IBC.
To an extent that you don't
there is no need for you to have. Yeah, you don't need agents. If you make the election system great and you have integrity, then you don't need agents at the polling station. Because for me, I believe, and I have said, we underutilize IBC. IBC is charged to oversee elections in Kenya. If it can oversee election for LSK, why can't IBC oversee election for all political parties? Ndio hii mambo ya sijui mtu anapewa direct nomination, mwingine unaenda unafika siku ya kura jina yako haiko. No. If you are going to hold election to avoid people voting for every party, unapata the same person votes for ODM today, tomorrow anaenda na vote to UDA, hiyo siku nyingine DA, PAK, sijui KANU, sijui Jubilee. You hold election in every region at one time, same day. If you go to, for example, unaanza na Western, na Coast, you hold election in those areas. So that people go, unafika kwa booth, unauliza, weni chama gani? UDA, ballot ndio hii, enda piga kura. Weni gani? ODM, ballot ndio hii, enda piga kura. Then the votes are counted for all those people, so that one man, one vote. Then you eliminate all these issues of people thinking that, hey, I had 20,000 votes in my nomination, but in general election, I only have 200 votes. Where did my 20,000 go? Because you are using the same people. We can address that issue, that simple. Na hii mambo ya all these signatures and everything else, then it will be eliminated. But as long as we have this problem of election system the way we have right now, then the need of having those signatures will always be there. That's my submission for today. But thank you guys in the studio for your contribution. I appreciate and I good points. Endeleni na hiyo moyo. Thank you.
Asante sana chama. Thank you so much. Pole, you are disrupted. Pole sana. Haya, thank you so much guys. Now, nafunga masimu. Narudi sasa kwenye studio. Haya. Taza na Prof.
Yes.
Amo ndio ulikuwa mwisho kuzungumza. Who spoke last? Who spoke last?
You spoke last.
Okay. Gloria.
I like what that gentleman has said. If we clean our electoral processes and they are free and fair and transparent and legitimate and airtight, not no rigging, then actually you don't need agents, because you can imagine, as you're saying, you have each presidential candidate or each party has an agent in every polling station. Those are too many people. So if IEBC would actually do the job the way it's supposed to be and be independent, some of these issues that we are addressing now with presidential candidates would be taken out. There's a gentleman who asked whether there has been a case study of to compare and contrast the Mtumba industry. I would say not only has there been a case study, there have been so many, let me say, market research, and they've been trying to change policy, and people are saying, what is policy? Policy is an action that affects an industry or a group of people, or, you know. So there have been a lot of this, and just like we are saying, you can't kill an industry for the other one to thrive. Yeah, you need to understand what is making the local industry not thrive, address those pain points, fix it, make it competitive. And by the way, when all Kenyans are able to have pesa mfukoni, which was our tagline and is still our tagline, when all Kenyans can work and all work can be, you know, appreciated, and they have pesa mfukoni, then if you are earning, Gerald, 1 million every month, I don't believe you will be running to Gikomba for camera. Si hata wewe utaingia mahali hapo kwa these big stores, you say, for today I'm going to buy things. So the point here is the economic empowerment of the people, and then all these other issues like Mtumba and second-hand vehicles and what they will be addressed. I believe that there should be at least at the bare minimum, the kind of quality of the things we are bringing in, including for the Mtumba industry. The same way we can regulate vehicles, we can regulate machinery, we can regulate even food that is being imported, we should be able to regulate Mtumba. But let me ask you, why is Raila so obsessed with Mtumba na watu wake wa samaki? He doesn't care about them. We have fish that's coming in from China. You know, first let him address that. I mean, his backyard, Lake Victoria, people, wale wauzaji wa samaki, they are suffering because the market is also flooded with fish from China. So we have, can I say, we have bigger fish to fry, and Mtumba should not be the number one agenda that anyone comes to tell us about. And one thing I also wanted to talk about is when we are looking at this election, we should not look at it as an election where very few are allowed to participate. I think this is for the first time, and I think that's why even they were pushing for this coalition political party acts and things like that. This is we should be happy when many Kenyans want to participate in the election. We should be happy when many Kenyans want to front themselves as candidates. Yes, there has to be bare minimums so that we can ensure that we are pushing the development of this country to a certain direction. But even our constitution stipulates that in order for you to make an amendment or to push for a change in some of the issues that we are addressing, you must be careful not to infringe on the other Kenyans' rights. Yeah, and so if the right is that I have a right to be elected or to participate in the election, by the time you're taking away that right, there has to be a conversation that there is absolutely no other way to go about that. So, for instance, the section 22, it was taken away because they were saying this degree is actually infringing on Kenyans' rights, because if you are looking at skill set should not be limited to degrees. Skill set should be limited, and that's why we have the Kenya National Qualification Authority. It should be a vast area that we can now say that you don't have a degree, but you have this and this exposure, or, you have skills that you have gotten from other, forms of learning. So the same way with that presidential candidate thing. And I know you're saying moja wao akikufa, if you have 1,000 presidential candidates, moja akufe, then we can't go to the election. Why haven't we gone to amend that part where when one dies, we can't actually have the election? Why are we stuck on it? What is the basis that we are stuck on it? If it was to ensure that no one kills the other, then can we find a way that works so that it can allow up to those 5 or 6 presidential candidates who want to participate in the election? So, these laws are made by man and for man. When it stops working for man, you go and you seek amendments. You go and say, now, ikitu imekuwa ngumu, we are seeking an amendment, we are seeking this, and that is actually the work of our legislatures, our MPs. That is what they're supposed to be busy doing, ensuring that the laws are actually efficient and practical for the electorate. So, and I think going forward, we talk also, let's address issues on election on an inclusive note. Yeah, there are no jokers and there are no serious people. There are Kenyans who hold IDs, who each have a right to vote. And that thing of having jokers is what you're seeing happening with the Sonko. I keep telling people, the electorate responds to the things that they know. The electorate responds to the trust that they can put in someone who looks like they can push their agenda. The reason you have people like Sonko, still very strong players in this election, is because they know how to rally people around them. And just because you think his way of rallying people around them is not the way that you would do it, it doesn't make him a joker. So what we should understand, there are no jokers and serious people. They are Kenyans in these elections, all of them. Young, old, poor, rich, all of them are Kenyans. Yeah.
Professor, kazi kwako.
Well, I had many things. I even had some young man said the 6,000 will be 40%. I think he read somewhere, also read that tweet. You think Raila is at his level can talk about 6,000 without doing the math? It certainly cannot be 40%. And that is someone read, I think it's Sholei who had written it. 6,000 times 2 million.
Sholei has said if 20 million Kenyans applied, that they are vulnerable families, again, then it will equate to that percentage.
I'm saying, 2 million was not just thrown around, or 20 million that Sholei is talking about. These figures are there, my friend. The National Bureau of Statistics and economic surveys, all these, who is poor, what levels, all this information is there. It is there on record, and Kenyans know. Now we are talking about paying stipend to all people beyond 70, and the numbers and the figures are there, and the people can easily be identified. So that, let me tell that young man, we know what we are talking about. Somebody has talked about let 1 million people run. Fine, let Kenyans run. Whatever restrictions you put in place, like Gloria is saying, however low you lower the bar in terms of the qualification, what you need to have, there will be somebody who can't reach it. It was 1 million. People say, no, this is for the rich. They put it 200. The question I'm asking you, Bitok, how many Kenyans can afford to pay 200 to run? 200,000. Are they many? Are they even 2% of Kenyans? Even 1% of Kenyans cannot afford that 200,000 shillings. Even if you say not a degree like Gloria is saying, a diploma, there will be millions upon millions of Kenyans who can't meet that diploma cut. So at the end of the day, these restrictions are to ensure that we only have serious people, because electing a president of a country is a serious matter. Remember, I want to inform the guy who talks let 1 million people run this. There is a small provision in the law, which he must go and read, which says the president shall be in office until he hands over to the incoming president. It is not time bound. Mukianza mchezo mkue na watu 200 kwa ballot paper, voting ichukue 1 month. Counting ichukue. I'm telling you, you will create a circus, you will create confusion, you plunge the country into chaos, there will be no credible election, there will be no winner, there will be no results, and you will see a man in State House, if God gives him health and life, staying there for 20 years as he waits for you to complete your voting by law. So this is what we are talking about. And finally, the things people are raising about food, about what, and all these problems this country has, we still have a lot of problems. Some of the problems are our own making. Some of the problems we have, poverty and hunger, is according poor leadership. The government can do a lot, but there are others beyond the country, beyond the government, beyond Uhuru Kenyatta, issues of COVID, issues of international problems, issues of Russia and Ukraine. There are many of these challenges. However, the approach to solving of these problems cannot be, you touch this and say, now I have finished it. If you look at the issues, like for example, in the Raila manifesto, and you are saying, who will do this? You don't know the magic like the 7-year tax break to the young people can do in solving a particular problem. That even this production of cloth, young people can set up shop to manufacture cloth, small scale, in small village shops, and they have 7 years without paying tax, you know? And when you are not paying tax, it's not just your tax, it's including the raw material and many of the things you do and licensing and so forth and et cetera, and the loans you take, they're exempt from this and that. So this can be game changers. To read a manifesto, you must do so holistically. You cannot pick an item in, that's why I told you I haven't read. Not that I don't know. I know those things you have mentioned. I've heard them. I've listened to Raila speak. But I'm saying you need to have time to understand comprehensively how these things play around and how one affects the other, that finally, Bitok allowed me to say that however beautiful your manifesto is, however beautiful you are with language, and you can throw slogans on marketplaces and dance on platforms and put on uniform, however serious your pronouncements on policy are, all that will come to zero until and unless you have one serious person, a man or a woman, in State House. One serious person in State House. One person in State House. And things change. Okay. I would wish to inform Gloria that such a serious person can be a serious Manyora. So when Gloria talks about me not running the treasury, I don't know. I can teach the man who is at the treasury how to turn this economy around. I can sit him down and show him how to turn this economy around. I can run this country. It's not about the treasury. The treasury is even a small thing. So just to finish, I'm running in 2027. So just to finish is that this is our country. We have a right to support whoever we want and campaign, but at the end of the day, we must remain Kenyans. We must be united. And when somebody doesn't like your candidate, you just convince him to like him and vote for him, and so that we remain together. But we must have a serious Kenyan. And when I look at the sides, I am sure Kenyans can see who among the people asking for their votes, they are reduced to 4 now, who among the 4 they can trust the future of this country. in their hands. In whose hands can you trust the future of your children and your grandchildren between the 4 candidates? That's for Kenyans to answer. It's not for Manyora. I have my own idea. For me, it's not a difficult choice. I can see that there should be better Kenyans on that list. But when I have the 4, I know Kenyans can see who among these 4 they can trust to run this country without listening to slogans, without looking at the dancing on the platforms, without looking at the crowds. Just say, Jakoya, Raila, Ruto, Waiga. I can choose so-and-so because at least from the 4, this man can run this country. He has proved in the past that he has something for this country in their heart and their mind and their brain. Yeah.
All right. Asante sana hapa kwa Wajakoya ndio tuko. Tuko hapa kwa papas. Gloria, your tackle of the day.
I think first, Manyora seems very confident in himself. I'm wondering why he did not submit his papers so he can run.
He said he's running in 2027.
So what was stopping him in 2022? Because he seems very, very confident. And if he can run this country, he should have submitted.
I didn't want to run
That is why.
I was looking for 200.
No, that is why I always say to anybody who cares to listen, anyone who has actually gone as far as declaring and actually putting their papers to be a candidate, whether MCA or MP or any candidate, must be taken very seriously. Because even just the act of submitting your papers and saying, Mimi naona pali nimefika, I am actually going to ask for those votes, that in itself, you are 50% successful than all the other people who want to come to studio here and just be analysts and criticize and say, where utapata takura 200. You know, Gerald, when I declared that I was going to vie for Member of Parliament in Bobasi constituency, I had a lot of people telling me, you're a joker. Huyo ni slay queen. Huyo haizi pata hata kura 100. To date, even sometimes I see people saying, wewe hata huwezi kukua chairman wa cattle dip. Wewe hata chairman wa chama huwezi kupata. But you can imagine the shock in their faces when I came back with my 5,500 votes strong. So, you know, anyone who puts in their papers and actually has stepped out and said, me, I'm going to try. Let us respect those people. Kabisa. Wajakoya, who let us respect those people because, by the way, all the keyboard warriors who have not stepped out to vie for even an MCA seat, the person who has put in their papers is still 50% way ahead of you. So we need to give some respect. It's not an easy thing. But for this election, let me say this. This election is about the economy. We are not going to be confused or digressed or taken to other places or other discussions. This election is about the economy. This is the first time that this country is actually having a general election during a time where we are possibly undergoing an economic meltdown. So if candidates are not going to come out and sell us the hope of rebuilding this economy, we are not listening. We are listening to candidates who understand that this election is about the economy. It's about putting money in Kenyans' pockets. It's about respecting every hustle. It's about understanding that it is not really about creating employment, but creating work. There's a difference. We are now saying we need to have all our Kenyans working. How are we going to get all the Kenyans working so that wakue na pesa mfukoni? So that in the next 18 months, we are not going to be talking about mitumba, because in the next 18 months, most Kenyans are going to be empowered economically to a point that they will watakuwa wanashonesha nguo zao. Watakuwa wanashonesha kitenge. Unanipata? Wanasema leo tutashonesha ya this week na next because wako na pesa mfukoni. And for me it is very clear that candidate is William Ruto who's pushing for that. And for me, I know in my heart, whether or not people, you know, I see a lot of negativity. I know in my heart that come August 9th, all this confusion that is coming from our competitors will be silenced by the Kenyan. That Kenyan that they are calling a joker, that Kenyan that they are calling a poor person who doesn't understand what it means to run for an election, that Kenyan that they have refused to bring to the table, huyo mama mboga, na huyo boda boda, na huyo banka, na huyo Gloria Orwaba, wataenda kwa ballot in silence. And watapatia William Ruto hiyo kura.
I said a very good thing that this election is about the economy. Wonderful. But you cannot have an economic revolution with all the theft that goes on in this country. You must stop theft. You must look for people who have the capacity to deal with corruption and theft. People of integrity. People who have values. People who have stood for things. Then you can trust they can grow the economy, because the first thing they will do, they will deal with thieves.
Okay.
People who have not been involved in scandals, like VAT.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Have not been taking handshakes and, translating them to money. People who actually care about hustlers in Kibera. Those kind of people.
It looks like everyone has their own kind of people. I mean, it's beautiful being in Kenya. It's a very beautiful democracy. Thank you so much for showing up. Prof, thank you so much, Gloria, for making time this morning. It's been a pleasure having this conversation. I wish you guys all the very best. Thanks for trying. I usually tell people, daring is winning already. Anyone who dares and goes for this thing, you're
winning. 5,000. Kuna 5,000 kwanza.
You didn't tie us.
587 strong.
Unajua tu kukula yako kwa sababu tuache kitu ya campaign.
Ya macho.
Campaign ilisha kama
ya macho.
Wacha macho. Listen for the eyes. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you to class. For those guys who have called in, thank you so much. Pole kidogo bunga la mwenye nchi kidogo ni kama nimefinya kwa sababu ya masaa. It has been a pleasure having you. See you again tomorrow on Siasa One has just been the State of the Nation edition. Professor Herman Manyora and Madam Gloria Orwaba. Asa alinjoy ungerudi ukiwa honorable.
Usijali
2027 na pia president umesema 2027
don't be too sure that I won't be there.
Haya, Asante, thank you so much and thanks for making time. Thank you for as well having this conversation with Kenyans. Let's have these conversations going. I will tell you guys, nimewambia mara mingi, it's almost 60 days, under 60 days to general elections. We'll have a new president. It will be a Kenyan. It will be a human being. It will not be a monkey. It will be a Kenyan. Either way, this country will move forward. In fact, kama kuna watu wanataka hii siasa ishe ni mimi. Tumaliza na hiki tuanze kuongelea vitu zingine. We start talking about the economy now. We start scrutinizing the manifesto and the delivery henceforth. So until tomorrow, see you. It's been a pleasure having you. This is the tackle and it ends right now. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.